Now it's
Hello, this is the title of my latest book. It's Becoming and Unbecoming, the Next James Bond. Um, this might seem strange for a sociologist come philosopher to be writing a book about James Bond, but in actual fact, James Bond represents a particular view of what it's like to be a human being. It also represents a very macho sort of idea of what it is to be a male. And I was thinking, after reading several sort of articles of asking the question, who is going to be the next James Bond? And I thought I would offer the idea that the next James Bond might not be somebody who jumps over bridges or um, tracks down people and shoots them, etc., etc., etc. That the real James Bond could be somebody who is actually fighting against the unfairness and the criminality of governments and authorities and organizations and bureaucracies that ruin our everyday life. So, in actual fact, the new James Bond could be a sensitive, philosophical, sociologizing human being who has learned about the world, learned about real life experiences, and is prepared to challenge the world as it is and take risks, um, challenging the system as well as staying alive. Now, this might seem a bit strange for a title, but in actual fact, it seems that quite a lot of interest is being shown on who might be the next James Bond. The next James Bond probably will be somebody who fits the right image and is going to make money for the people who make the film. They're not. No one's going to make any profound philosophical statements or even sociological statements. It's not going to be about real life. It's fantasy. But there could be a real James Bond, and there could be a real hero who fights against the injustices of modern society, of employers who sack you on the slightest whim, of the people who are organising the government benefits and don't pay the money, people who can't get an appointment with their GP because the GP is too lazy, etc., etc., etc. So that's what this book is really about. People who might buy the book thinking that they're going to have a treat and they're going to be told who the next hero is or is likely to be, will get a bit of a shock because basically the book begins with my own experience as somebody who had just left school, had joined the Royal Navy, learned to fly an aircraft, and as soon as was able to fly an aircraft, was sent out to Suez to keep an eye on the skies to see that they're clear of enemy planes. So, compared to the man who wrote the James Bond stories, Ian Fleming, who actually did hold a naval rank but never saw any action, never saw any real action in terms of He-Man stuff. Not that what I was doing was real He-Man stuff, but it was dangerous, and I could have died as a result of it. So I think that I could even claim more than the average person who plays the part of James Bond as somebody who has encountered dangerous situations. When I became an academic, when I did sociology and philosophy, a lot of the sociology that I did was finding out about things. I felt that at times I was a secret agent. I'd go in and I would collect information. The information I was collecting was for was described as data for a project, but I was even more interested in what was going on in these organizations that I was visiting, because an academic, I had, you might say, privileged access to a lot of situations, and I could smell corruption wherever I found it, and frequently, once I was discovered as somebody who knew this, I was then sort of ditched as being a very dangerous person, which actually sort of pleased me no end. I loved being told off that I had sort of been doing something naughty, like collecting information about their fiddling the expenses, or lending their company car to their son, who goes and wraps the car up round a tree or something. That's a real case, actually. So, yes, I was very, very interested in corruption. I found it in the education system. I found it in academia. I found it in some of the famous colleges. Jobs would be manufactured for people who weren't really entitled to them. There were cases where sometimes the results of research projects would be tickled a bit, so that it meant that somebody would be able to get a grant. Yes, the academic world is as liable to break the law as any other section of society. Anyway, in Becoming and Unbecoming, the next James Bond, I suppose one would actually have to some extent, make it sound exciting. I think discovering somebody on the fiddle is exciting. That's what the major newspapers are all about. That's what the present condition of what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. It's about people really abusing their power, abusing their situation, and actually taking human lives as a result. So anyway, if you want to get the book, there it is. That little red car was my car. That man there with the pipe was me 100 years ago. Thank you very much.